The next item is item number 9, application for a certificate of appropriateness at 785 Park Avenue in the Upper East Side Historic District, docket number 15-7517, block 1408, lot 1, a modern-style apartment building designed by George F. Pelham Jr. and built in 1939 to 40. This is an application to reclad and alter the base of the building.
Yes, thanks. I know. Do you know her name? Oh, yeah, I'm really looking for someone.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Abby Hurlbut, Preservation Staff. The application is to replace and reclad the lower level base of the building at 785 Park Avenue, which is located on the northeast corner of Park Avenue and East 73rd Street in the Upper East Side Historic District. The building originally had a cast concrete base, which was clad over in the existing limestone. So the application is to replace the modern limestone cladding at the lower level, extend it up to the second level, and replace the historic brickwork there with new limestone, as well as to redesign the primary entrance at the Park Avenue facade. So the architect is here to discuss this proposal in detail.
I'm Walter Melvin. I'm the architect of the project. This facade was reclad in the early 1980s, from what we can determine. It was originally a cast stone facade, which sort of implies that they were going the low-end route in financial activity here. The cast stone was apparently in such dire condition that in the 80s they cut it with limestone with this granite base. One of the interesting things about it is that it also has, at the second floor level, a projecting brick course indicating that the architect felt that a two-story base was probably what the building should have, but I have a feeling that that he was overruled by dollars. The replacement, which was done in the 80s, was done in a very light-handed way. The limestone was attached to the cast stone with wire anchors, tiebacks, and the mortar pads, so that the cast stone underneath was effectively destroyed, even if it would have been reusable. The building owners would like to bring their building more into the basic design approach of the rest of Park Avenue, which in general, for buildings of this stature, this size, would have a two-story base. And since the architect felt that he needed to define that second floor with his projecting brickwork, I feel that that's appropriate to the design of the building. This building was designed by the son of the fellow who designed the building we just looked at the windows for.
Okay.
He did a lot of other buildings around as well, 1120 Park, which is a very similar building to this, with a lot of setbacks and terraces at the upper levels, a simple, straightforward brick building. I think that we've done a little survey and picked out a number of buildings in the neighborhood. Most of the buildings in the neighborhood have two-story bases. which proportionally feel much more keeping with the massing of buildings that are there. So we're planning a straightforward limestone replacement with a cornice line at the above the second floor windows. The entranceway will be projected somewhat the way it is now, except that the one now is a sort of, it's cast stone for one thing, and it's cracked and breaking. It has fairly undecorative, except that it has round corners on it. The existing entrance doors will stay as they are, and there will be a granite base, which will be typical of most of the buildings on the area of Park Avenue.
Are there any questions?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Diana?
Yeah, I actually, sympathize with your solution, and it looks like you've got a lot of good examples. There are no pictures of the building itself at, I don't see any of the,
Originally,
yeah.
we do have a real estate brochure, which interestingly enough does not
doesn't show the
talk
base.
about the design of the building.
Uh-huh,
It shows just a fairly small
uh-huh.
element of the building, but what it does, what its main selling point is that the apartments in this building
I see, very hard to tell.
have fewer rooms and more square footage than typical apartments. That was their big selling point. This is a sort of 1940s building,
Okay,
sort of in between the late pre-war building
yeah,
and
I agree the proportions.
really marketing an apartment size
You
layout.
want to take it up another
rather
floor,
than
which
its
makes sense in terms of
elegance
massing.
and facade.
Are there questions? Yes.
Let me just make sure I follow this. In the 1930s and 40s, the Pelham architects put in the precast base.
Now, in the 1940s, this is George Pelham Jr.,
Right.
son of
Senior.
Senior. He put in a precast base,
One
one
story.
story, which projects up.
And then sometime in the 80s, that precast base was poorly clad with limestone.
Correct.
And you're looking to take the whole thing out.
Right.
And go up 2 stories. Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Michael?
You're very capable staff. In your research for this, did you find any other buildings of this era with only a single
It looks fun.
story base like this? It seems
we
very
did.
unusual.
I can answer that. Allison Lefevre, Walter Melvin Architects. We did a survey of the entire length of Park Avenue in the Upper East Side Historic District. And we found that 70% of buildings had at least a 1.5 story base or higher. We also looked at this specific building type, pre-war red brick building, and only one building, there are 19 of those, and only one of them did not have a base at all. 18 of 19 had a 1.5 story base and higher.
Seems unusual for this. It's like they cheaped out on this
Yeah.
thing.
Right,
So
that's,
this-
that
so
was a
this
theory.
building- yeah.
Is that they cheaped out, is that?
It does look weird, this it is.
All right, any other questions?
You have colors or samples of what of the granite that you're,
Do we have the samples? No, we don't. We will submit those approvals to the
Yeah,
staff.
that could live up to the staff.
We're looking at, I think, a year-old granite, we're looking at, which is a somewhat pinkish tone, but not a red granite.
because there are some common pinkish tones that are pretty garish. I mean, you don't want,
I'm
I
sorry, I
mean, you want
didn't.
to, well, I think the color is important in this home.
Yeah, the color is very important, and we will submit those samples.
To staff.
The limestone will be Indiana buff limestone, which is not going to be terribly.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Barbara Zay?
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. HDC finds the additional limestone at the base to be an unnecessary change to this building and feels that an improved entrance surround could be a sufficient alteration to clean up the base. However, without the inclusion of a historic photo in the proposal, it is difficult to ascertain the appropriateness of the proposed entry surround. Its Art Deco style seems to be at odds with the rest of the building's modern details. HDC feels that the masonry entry surround could be stained or reclad to great effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Hall?
Michael Hall, Friends of the Upper East Side. The addition or alteration of limestone at the base of Park Avenue apartment buildings is a common undertaking on the Upper East Side. The proposal for 785 Park Avenue is a well-executed and modest design that fits nicely within the district. We found the proportion of the new two-story base to be more pleasing than the existing, and the materials and detailing to be elegant and appropriate. Further, we found the proposed entrance to be an improvement over the current painted concrete surround. The Preservation Committee at Friends supports the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Community Board 8 submitted a recommendation in support of this project. All right, I don't think that, do you want to respond to anything? Okay. All right, we can close the hearing. Second, okay. Are there any concerns? I actually think it's an improvement. It is, right? Okay, good. So we can move on to decision. Diana, would you like to read? Okay.
Oh, thank you. Roberta was just asking a question. Thank you. In the matter of the certificate of appropriateness for 785 Park Avenue, Upper East Side Historic District, Block 1408, Lot 1. Application is to reclad and alter the base of the building. I recommend approval, finding that the replacement of the existing non-original limestone and granite cladding and installation of new cladding over the simply designed second-floor brickwork will not result in the loss of historic fabric or significant architectural features, that the replacement of the existing cladding at the base is warranted due to its deteriorated condition, that the proposed materials and finishes will be in keeping with the historic masonry and color palette of the building and will be an improvement over the existing 1-inch thick veneer, as well as the historic cast concrete, which is unsalvageable behind the existing cladding. That the presence of a 2-story masonry base will be in keeping with typical conditions and at the adjacent building and at buildings of this type and age throughout this streetscape, and that the scale and design of the entrance surround will be compatible with the proportions of the building and will be in keeping with the overall character of this simple building, which exhibits conservative, modern stylistic details, and that the applicant will work with the staff on the color of the cladding.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application's been approved.